coming.
You're welcome.
Before we start diving headfirst into this, let's introduce all of our panelists, starting at the end there. If you guys want to introduce yourselves.
I'm Kat. I'm from 3KB. We have a video game review show, movies, video games, nerdy debates, and such.
And I'm from the same show. My name's Jay.
Daniel Cordero, I'm also known as the Commodore from the Clan of the Grey Wolf. And, oh God, we've been at this for a long time doing video game reviews and philosophy of video games and those kinds of things, including the Echo Screen live show.
My name is Norman. I do a documentary show called The Gaming Historian where I talk about the history of video games, cover pretty much everything and anything that was important in video game history.
Hey everybody, I'm James Portnow. I'm a game designer by trade. I work on games ranging from the Call of Duty series to Farmville. I hold a professorship down at DigiPen, and in my spare time I write extra credits on Penny Arcade.
And I am Pro Jared, and I'm not nearly as cool as these guys.
Much better dressed.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also sweating balls. Sorry about the heat in the room. Air conditioning's broken. Don't worry about it. It happens.
You will be worrying about it in half an hour.
Yeah. So, as the topic of discussion is the future of video games, we do want to leave some time so you guys can ask questions or our thoughts on upcoming trends and the like. But I guess to kind of start things off, I want to start positively. Because, I mean, it's so easy to be negative about where things are going. But I want you to want to see what we're actually kind of looking forward to, or what we're seeing in gaming that's coming up that actually looks really, really promising or has a lot of good potential to it. So I'm going to throw that out there to the panel. Let's go.
All right, so where I would start is what we're opening up in terms of theme and genre, which I know I've stolen from several of you guys at this point, but I'm sure that's what you we have moved beyond what we were just traditionally considering gaming. The things that we can explore with this medium are actually limitless. And the other day I was playing Papers, Please. How many of you guys have played Papers, Please? The rest of you should all play Papers, Please.
I've heard of it.
It's fantastic, right? But it's a game about being the guy at the border crossing who stamps passports. And it's hugely engaging and makes you think about the prospect of being that guy in ways that you never would have. And it was amazing to me, right? They took the dullest job I can imagine and made it thoroughly compelling, put me in the shoes of someone else, and made me think about their lives, right? That's the power of games, and that's something that we're just beginning to explore. And so I think that there's so much more of the human experience that we can touch on in games. And that to me is what I'm excited about for the future.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, one of the most popular lines of video games, I'm sure you guys have probably come close to on the internet somewhere, are games like Train Simulator, Street Sweeper Simulator,
Garden Simulator.
Garden Simulator.
Dude, Microsoft Farm Sim.
Yeah.
The dump stem. It's awesome.
Every game sold in the country of Germany.
A most recent indie game that people are really loving right now, I can't remember the exact name, but you're basically a janitor in space. I don't know if you've heard of this one. Is it called Space Janitors?
No.
But that would be a great name.
It's like the name of the ship. There's actually, I saw a guy yesterday cosplaying as the guy from the Space Janitor game. But you play as a space janitor, you just have a mop, and you basically show up after the scene of basically like an aliens fight. So there's just like aliens, blood, and dead people like everywhere, and you clean it up. You're that guy, rather than like actually doing the fighting or anything. And it's like the most compelling thing in the world. Like it got so popular that they're adding in new levels and cores. You no longer have to janitor alone. And I think it kind of goes with what you're saying. Like these, what would normally be conceived as mundane activities, it is just super compelling to people who don't do them.
In space, no one can hear you sweep. Sorry.
That should be the tagline of that game.
Just no one can hear you sweep.
Okay, fine, maybe not.
Well, we have an opportunity to play these games because gaming has opened up to not just these huge publishers and developers. Very small companies, people like you and me could make a game and release it now. And that's why we're seeing these really cool new games coming out.
That's sort of what Newgrounds sort of is, isn't it? It's like Newgrounds and ConBravo. These are collections of games typically made by single people.
Yeah, and a lot of games get their start on Newgrounds. A lot of good indie games got their start on Newgrounds.
If you played games like Alien Hominid and Castle Crashers, those were literally made by the guys who made Newgrounds.
Yeah.
And it's funny because
Yeah, I would say some Meat Boy.
Yep.
On there too.
Yeah, start with the indie game movie. It's phenomenal. So you stole mine, but that's cool. I have another one, which is maybe I'll go side with the big guys for a second. I think one of the things that we should really look forward to in the future of gaming is how we legitimize the medium that we all know and love. So one of the things I think you'll find in society, really mostly in Western society, it's a little bit better in the East, specifically Japan, is kind of the cultural acceptance of video games as an artistic medium. And one of the things that I think is going to get us beyond that, and what I'm looking forward to with the future of games, is moving out of the games as toys mantra that we've all kind of fallen victim to, or that's one of the reasons why we're all here, right? Because they sold gaming consoles as toys in toy stores. And kind of moving to a place where you can make a video game that speaks to people in very deep, interesting, social ways that brings people together. I think that's going to legitimize the medium, and that's something I'm really looking forward to.
I think I'm going to go to La La Land here. How many of you read Ready Player One?
Yes.
If you haven't read that book, you need to read that book.
Also, just read books in general.
Yeah. It's by Ernest Cline, and it's essentially about a boy who lives in the slums, and it's in the future, and he puts on this, I forget the name of the actual headset.
Oasis.
Yeah, so he puts the Oasis on, and he goes into his own video game. And I think, virtual reality for me is the most exciting for me. So to see things like the Rift sort of starting to take off, and there's rumors that Titanfall might work with it. I'm kind of interested to see where that could go and which company is going to try to buy it first and use it as a peripheral on their
Do you
system.
actually think it's going to be a viable alternative as opposed to just being a gimmick to sell more games?
Well, if you read that book, you just get the hope that it will be like that in the book. But will it actually be like that? I don't know if anyone's actually tried anything. We were at the game, what was it?
Game On at the Science Center in Toronto.
Yeah, and they had this huge round ball that you could get into. Sphere. And it's this cage.
Sorry.
And you basically put the headset on, you walk in the ball, so you can walk and you hold the railing, and it was interesting, but it wasn't there yet.
Yeah, the graphics were real.
It's funny because I see a lot of you guys who came to my panel yesterday, and we actually talked about specifically this, right? And specifically the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
I actually don't think, I've seen virtual reality come and go so many times in this industry, and the problem is that logistically, until you have a space where people can walk around forever in their house with their headset on, this is the issue. Until we hit the holodeck, I don't believe we're actually going to get it.
Well, it's kind of like 3D. No one, yes, some people like 3D movies, but a lot of people hate having to have something on their face. And the 3D TV is not really doing all that well. No one's buying that.
And yet it comes back every 10 years. People are like, it's the future.
Yeah, right. First, the red green glasses, now these.
Well, then I gotta ask, when you watched Avatar with the glasses, did you actually feel like something different was happening?
No.
So, yeah.
Felt like a loser, is that?
Like, I can see some of these people argue, like, and
No,
say,
yeah.
I actually felt like the movie was a little bit more real.
And I'll give you, there is certainly some advantage, right? I think the Oculus Rift is a cool thing. I just don't think it's the future, right? I just am skeptical about our virtual reality future. And it's not that having 3D technology is bad. It's awesome that we can have those movies, and for the movies which is appropriate, that's great, right? But I have just seen us walk so many times down the path of trying to achieve this virtual reality headset.
Virtual voice.
I have a thought about that, though. So think for a second about what is, oh my God, is that the air conditioner? That's awesome. That was not my thought. That was not my thought. Doesn't count. So my thought is, take what you think that end game looks like, whether it be the holodeck, whatever, and think about logistically if you could play the favorite games that you play right now in the holodeck. It'd be scary as shit.
Right.
It would be traumatic. It would be absolutely horrible.
And on the show, Next Gen, they actually had people getting hurt in the holodeck.
Exactly. And even if you weren't getting hurt, right? If you ever, I always think of like Jurassic Park. Think if you were just in Jurassic Park, the game, and a T-Rex was like moving down on you and screaming in your face. Even if you knew that was fake, you'd still shit your pants. I'm sorry. And by the way, I think that would be traumatic. I think it would be it would be alienating rather than it would be immersive. And I think that's probably that false gold standard. You absolutely touched on that. Why are we seeing the renaissance of 2D gaming right now? It's because we find legitimacy in those experiences, we find connections in those experiences, and that, I think, all of us in this room, I would think would agree, we connect with that so much better than if we were standing in front of a T-Rex.
And there is something to the power of human imagination.
Absolutely.
That 2D space, I, as a person, project onto a lot more of what I want that space to be than that photorealistic T-Rex in my face.
100%. Absolutely.
You know, I got a perfect example of this. How many people see Blair Witch Project? In Blair Witch Project, you never see the witch. And it's almost like an 8-bit video game. You have to imagine the things that are scary to you or the things that are adventurous to you. And in Blair Witch, again, you don't even see her. You almost see her, but it leaves it to your own imagination. So we're all going to come up with our worst nightmares as what she would look like.
It's Hitchcock.
It's basically a classic Hitchcock, and I think that's where games have just went astray. Because now they're trying to show us the witch in every game, and we're just like, that's not what I thought it would be.
For the record, I do think it would be hilarious to shove an Oculus Rift on like a 10-year-old or something and make him play a Call of Duty type game and make him realize how not fun war is.
Yes.
That could be powerful on its own. Speaking of the Oculus Rift, have anyone here actually used it themselves?
I have.
I have as well. Yep. What do you think?
So,
Do you play Doom on it?
I actually
What would you get?
I have played, the best experience I had with it was buddies of mine are making a space shooter, like a space dogfighting game.
Okay.
And I liked it, but like 3D, right? Like, I felt like it added something to some experiences. But not universal, right? Like, there's a lot of things I don't want it for. There's plenty of things I would rather have control of my hand for.
When I played it, they had Doom 3 set up on it, so I was playing Doom 3, and as it turns out, it's a lot harder when you're actually like looking around, because how they had it set up, basically the left analog stick was move forward, left, straight, or whatever, and the right analog stick was still aim, but you aimed in wherever you're looking. So it's kind of like the Wii controller in a sense. So like your arm is doing this with the right analog stick, and you actually turn like so still like turning and going, ugh. It's like really hard to do. And that was like novel and cool, but I don't see myself doing that for hours on end.
Well, it's the same problem that we talked about with the motion controls in general, right? It's this uncanny valley disconnect of when I'm holding the controller in my hand, because human beings are just very used to using tools, right? We can project ourselves through those tools on the screen. It's like when we're driving a car and you say, I'm going to turn left, rather than saying, I'm going to turn this wheel to make this car move left, right? Because we see ourselves, that's our entire evolution is based on this tool. As soon as we're closer to our real physical actions, as soon as you're turning your head for one thing, but you're doing some totally disconnected action for some other part of your body, it actually breaks the immersion and makes it much harder to operate. And that's something about motion control, right? Because you can't move around your feet, which is the problem with a lot of the virtual reality as well. We have that disconnect.
So with the Oculus Rift, how can the Oculus Rift be like a platform where lots of games get released for it specifically for that? Is that even a possible thing, or is it just such a niche?
I think a game like The Sims would be good on there, maybe. Something, a simulation, well,
I think first person.
So, but I mean something that's just like a very simple game, like maybe.
But then aren't you in the avatar syndrome where you're just wearing 3D glasses to watch something that's real TV?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me seems like it's kind of a waste of, why would you spend all the money to sit there and buy this giant headset that makes you look like a dork in front of all your friends and family so that you can play The Sims?
And I mean, I think it's a cool thing, but the question of whether or not it can be a platform, whether or not I release games just for the Oculus Rift, I'm not sure that there's a host of unique design possibilities for the Oculus Rift that makes the platform unto itself in the way that the Wii was.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. I don't think that's going to happen either. I think it'll be a peripheral you buy for a game
It's
that's.
a gimmick. It's like augmented reality. Like, I'm sure they're going to make Google Glass work with augmented reality, and they'll make a variety of games, and they'll be fun for a few months. Forget about it.
So I actually would argue that, to me, Google Glass is much more likely to be part of the future of games. I actually think that bringing games into our real-world space and having that overlay allows us to do a great. There are design possibilities I see there. I don't know if we want to get sidetracked down our augmented reality.
Oh,
We can go for that after I drop one.
Nintendo did a great job with it.
I know a lot of people are raising their hands for questions. We'll get to questions later. If you just want to hold on to those, we'll get you guys in a little bit. So yeah, jumping off of the 3D virtual reality, the other reality is augmented reality, which has been barely scratched upon by very few devices. For example, the 3DS came with those AR cards, which everyone used once and went, neat. And then that has never been seen again. The Vita had the one fighter where you could select your fighters and put them in the real world by pointing the camera, and no one bought that game. So, can augmented reality be used to really enhance gameplay, or is this just another gimmick that people are dismissing quicker than 3D?
Well, the problem is it can't be on a device which I have to hold up. Like, if I have to crack a device out of my pocket to look around the room for something, or if I have to place an object in the environment, it makes the magic, right? My world and this virtual world no longer sort of mesh together, coincide, right? All of a sudden, I really am just playing a game. The reason I think the glass is an interesting case is because if I have it on all times, I can be living my daily life, and then all of a sudden I turn a corner and there's a magic moment, right?
A T-Rex.
Right. More likely, I mean, there's a lot I can see, even the simple scenario that I always talk about. I worked with the groundspeak guys, the guys who do geocaching, a few years back to explore how we can turn your experience in the park with your kids into a magical adventure, right? And I can see a lot of these moments, and then I can see other moments, right? Like there are lots of ways that I think we can make the most mundane of human activities, right? Like I have this game I really want to do about doing inventory at a store, right? Like doing inventory. I don't know how many of you guys have ever done inventory?
Yeah.
Oh my god. And I feel like there's so many ways that with Google Glass, as you're doing inventory, I can look at that barcode. I can use that as a random seed. I can generate anything I want off that, right? Like I can make that the dice roll for your adventure. And so I think there's lots of ways with this perpetually available access to a virtual overlay to our world that changes the game from your Vita look at these things, or from, which I think is the blind alley of augmented reality, the augmented reality sticker where I have to look up a specific, whether it's a QR code.
You gotta find a QR code.
Right.
So, yeah. Here's an interesting extension of that. So I think one of the most exciting things about the future of games that I can see is that computation is much more readily available and much less of a barrier toward experience. So if any of you tried to play the new SimCity, you understand when you first bought it, the reason why you couldn't play it is because there was an entire offloading process to the cloud that simply became overwhelmed by the number of people because of poor planning and what have you, right? But there's also a monetary limitation, financial limitation. We won't talk about that. The point is, theoretically now, compute cycles are so much more readily available today than they ever have been in the history of the world. What this means is, I think the barrier for Google Glass to do some of the things that you're describing, which I 100% agree with, is more on the computational side. It's more on how something like that can actually process the world around you in real time. And that is a real struggle. I mean, think about what you do just when you walk down the street. You're not even thinking of anything, but consciously there's so many things coming through your mind about where things are spatially, how things are oriented in the city, and what makes you feel normal, like you're not in danger, right? Now, throw a wrench into that, where you would be in danger inside of a real augmented reality space, the game has to create that for you, and that is extremely difficult, and I think limited by computation.
So it's really interesting. I think we are seeing this differently, and this is often what I run into, right? Often when we talk about AR, people are thinking about the T-Rex you're going to see on the street, right? To me, no, that's not where we're going I think it's going to start. There's so many things I can do with simply an arrow on that Google Glass, right? Like, there's so much richness. I don't know, did any of you guys play Zombies Run? Yeah, no. Oh, a couple of you guys, all right. So Zombies Run is this game, it's brilliant. It's nothing but, you put your headphones in when you begin to go for your walk or for your run, and it comes up with a little audio recording, and they tell you a scenario. You're a runner in a post-apocalyptic zombie world, and periodically as you're running, you hear the zombies get closer, and you have to outrun, right? And to me, that's augmented reality, right? That's our reality improved by game, and all the processing in there is audio, sure, right? And so I think that there's a lot of ways. I think you're right. I think we're very far off from the overlay that, I mean, one of the hardest problems is how do I know what to occlude and not occlude with my T-Rex in the real world, right?
Or what kind of information gets shared, right? So that, the game you're talking about gets much more interesting if you walk into a warehouse and the GPS detects that you're in a warehouse versus you're walking into a busy restaurant, right? So I'm not saying that that's what I want. I don't want that, right? I mean, we if anything, we're much more, because of NSA and everything, I mean, that's a very big topic right now, is information sharing and security. Do you want that kind of information getting put into a game, even though it would make the experience a lot more interesting?
Well, and that's why I think augmented reality is going in, is interesting, because there's so much data we can currently pull from Google Maps, right? I mean, you see how much is flagged whenever you're, I mean, if you just Google Maps search on your phone, food near me, right? It knows there's 1,000 things. And so I think that pulling down that map metadata is really what we're personally start running off of, and having that experience that is slightly different if you're in a warehouse versus a private restaurant.
Well, you make a good point, James, because about the augmented reality, because I don't know if you guys had this when I was little and I had to do a mundane task like rake the yard or do the laundry or something. I would try to make a game out of it and make it more fun, like how fast can I rake this pile of leaves, how quickly can I pick it up and put it in the bed sheet for you to the side of the road.
Well, Jane McConnell has that book, Reality's Broken. I don't know if you guys have read it. If you haven't, it's amazing. And she talks about there's a chores thing, a chores game they started with your roommates. And, you know, you get this, like, cleaning the bathroom because that's the crappiest job. It's this many points. And whoever has the most points doesn't have to do X.
Like, I don't know if anyone has used photocracy. It turns working out into an RPG.
Oh, you're talking about gamification.
What's that?
Gamification.
Yeah.
Are there cheat codes in that?
As a matter of fact, yes, you just tell it you did it.
Yeah. You just tell you did it.
I made my bed. Give me those points.
So kind of going off of all these possibilities that we're talking about with augmented reality, virtual reality, let's talk about what is for sure coming. Xbox One.
Wait, you said for sure, right?
I like how you just said Xbox One and didn't start like.
Yeah. So we are coming upon an all-new generation of consoles, the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I don't even know where to begin on these things. I'm sure we all have a lot to say about it. So with the new generation, what are your fears? What are your hopes? What are you already dismissing?
Well, I think I'm just kind of curious. We should do a vote here. How many people are going to buy PS4?
When it launches?
Yeah, day one.
No.
How many people are going to buy an Xbox One when it launches?
This is my job. I actually have to.
I gotta buy one.
See, I feel like I
It's like
have
3 to 2.
but I don't want to.
Right. Well, I'm gonna find it interesting.
Well,
right?
right.
So I gotta ask this.
Why don't you just ask if you have the choice, instead of saying you have to. If you have the choice, would you buy it?
That's a good question. So the big thing about the Xbox One to me is we actually have no idea what it's going to be in November when it releases.
Microsoft doesn't either.
That's
And so I'll see. Really, though, it doesn't matter about the tech. It depends on the launch lineup. If there are awesome games for it that I can't get anywhere else, yeah, I'll buy it. And if there are not, no way, right? And this is probably the last generation. This is why it was a sort of irrelevant argument whether that is PS4 or PS3 or 360, right? Because 90% of the games you can get on the Wii.
Well, I got to ask you this then. Being in the industry, how does a company, billion-dollar company, mess up that bad?
So that's what we're all trying to figure out.
Well, even the Wii U, they don't have any really solid titles, really, coming out until 2014, like the end of 2014.
So the Wii U is also a discussion we should have because to me, I would like to see it be part of the future, but I can't because my Nintendo is not committed to using the Wii U even on its own main franchise games, right?
If we got time, we'll get to the Wii U. We'll check out PS4 and Xbox One right now.
It's just like real life. The Wii U is kind of the
Yeah.
We're going to even push it aside in this.
But it should, I think there are possibilities there that do more than the possibilities allowed us by the Xbox One or the PS4 at this point.
No, I think it's amazing technology. Like, I bought it the day it came out, and I was, this is awesome. I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it. And then now it's now it literally is a skeleton. You play Earthbound. That's
That actually
it.
justifies the system.
Rayman Legends, which even got pushed back because the company got a little scared about sales, and it's
Well, so I'll just make one comment on the Wii U, which is maybe as we said yesterday. When Nintendo has to do a Hail Mary because they run out of money, they actually fully commit to their system, right? And so on the Wii, the Mario and Zelda games and all that sort of thing could only be played with that new technology, fully integrated, they were fully committed to using that new technology. They're taking a very conservative approach, and I mean, those games barely use the possibilities of the main franchises they're being totally safe about and not trying to fully commit to the innovations in that technology, and that's why I think the Wii U is not succeeding.
And lo and behold, it's not. I don't know that Nintendo's identified it as the Hail Mary that it probably should be, and as a result, it's not the gravy train didn't keep rolling.
Well, for me, Nintendo has this brilliant thing where, like, every 8 years they make something, they take their Hail Mary, make $1 billion, run out of that $1 billion, and they have to do it again.
Right. It's almost like a hubris thing. It's as if they build it all up and then they go, oh, we're never going anywhere, and then they go somewhere. It's like, oh shit.
For the record, I like the Wii U.
Oh, I like
Yeah,
the Wii U.
I'm not saying it doesn't have problems, but I do like it. Now, if we want to talk about like just technology not being used to its fullest, again, it brings us back to PS4 and Xbox One. What is the point of the new Kinect and the new PlayStation Move stuff on these new consoles? Because I've yet to see anything that justifies having these with these systems.
Well, I don't make an argument on Xbox One, and I think the Kinect, I think in general, the future of technology is not us actually pushing buttons. I think it's, we just talk to it. So you walk in the house, say the lights are on, or you turn the oven on, or your AC on. I don't think in 10 years we'll be actually pushing buttons anymore for a lot of this stuff. So I think there, in terms of the Kinect being able to read what you're saying in the room and stuff, I think that is kind of where the future is going in a lot of technology. I don't think, again, we're not going to be pushing buttons. So to turn on your TV, it doesn't make sense that we even need to push a button now. We should just say, turn on TV, and it should just turn on.
To clarify a little bit, what's the point of the Xbox Kinect camera and the PlayStation Move
Okay,
stuff
well,
in terms of playing games?
Well,
Yeah, like turning on your Xbox and saying Xbox. That's novel.
But, I mean, it is
It is. I mean, as someone that I think probably my favorite feature of the 360 is the Kinect, and I can say that only because I don't use it for games. To me, the reason why I use my Xbox more to watch stuff, than I do to play, and part of the reason why is because it's chicks dig it when you come back and you're like, hey, Xbox, play.
Hang on, let's ask her.
See?
Did they like your clap light too?
It was like done. Xbox play. You gotta set the mood. You gotta.
But the Star Wars game on Kinect, I have to admit,
the dance one was really good.
Using the Force in that game, there was a couple moments where I was like, holy shit, it kind of is cool. It kind of is cool. Something is here, but it's like, it's not working, but it's okay. And I was thinking, like, as soon as Kinect gets 1-to-1 ratio, and I do this, and it really senses that, then I could see some games really using it. you know, like,
There is a limit to it though, because you have no haptic feedback. That's why the lightsaber didn't feel right. Because I can't do this and feel that moment of impact.
yeah.
And so for things, if I'm casting spells, if I'm doing things that are not going to interact with anything else in the world, great. I think it will have that magical moment.
And I think that's very possible with the new technology that's included in both the PS4 and the Xbox One. I always wondered with Kinect, and I mean, Move was a good example of this, I think, but why, you know, Xbox's mantra was, you are the controller. Well, okay, I want to be part of the controller. I don't want to be the controller, okay? So why can't I still have a controller that gives me that haptic feedback? Because that's the only way it feels any way realistic. Even when you're playing, you know, Kinect Sports, for God's sake, you're jumping around the room like an idiot. You just know you're jumping around the room like an idiot. You know you're not, you know, riding a raft down the river.
Yeah, but let's be honest, a lot of the Kinect stuff was like Microsoft just saying, you know, because I saw 10 years ago Bill Gates talk about being the controller, and that was even before Xbox 360 launched. So I know they were working on it for such a long time, but I don't think they hit it the right way they wanted to, and it still sold 10 million units. So, I mean, that says something. Somebody's using it somewhere, or it's either going to be buried in a desert, like, you know, after it launches.
I think there's only so many times, I mean, I tried to play Skyrim, just yelling the shouts at the TV. That was cool for like 30 seconds, and then it became really horrible to say
Until somebody was like,
shut up. Yeah, I know, what are you doing out there? But no, it's like, that has a sincere limitation. You don't want to be, in some ways, immersed to that degree and to that level. I'd much rather just hit a button.
Well, if you want to play a game and you want to just play that game, you maybe worked all day and had to talk to people all day, and you want to just play your game and be in your head and be in this game and not have to
shout dragon
Yeah, exactly.
language at the television.
Having that moment of impact is really, really important. And I've played like the Fighters Unengaged on Xbox, which is one of the worst Kinect games. And it's big, you try to punch at people, it's just really stupid, it doesn't work. And like, I thought it was gonna be awesome because, you know, you want to fight someone, and it was just really lame. But one of my favorite arcade games of all time is mocap boxing from Konami. Well, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but you pick up these two 2-pound boxing gloves, and you stand in this little cage that senses your movement, so you actually have to dodge punches, and you punch at the screen. But because you have these like plastic boxing gloves on there, you get that moment of impact. Like, you feel like you're getting the punch on there. So like after 3 punches, you get to do like a 35 hit combo, and it's awesome just to do that. And you feel like the weight behind that.
And then you die. Literally, heart attack.
And then I realized I haven't been out of the house for 15 years. And I log on to Fitocracy, like I punched a dude 35 times.
You don't want to go home every day after work and just, you know, start throwing punches in your living room. Sometimes that might be cool. You know, maybe you had a really bad day and you want to imagine you're punching your boss. But other than that, you know, that can be a sincere limitation if you have to play it that way.
I also think the only way games like that will work is if there's an achievement system where somebody sees that you did that in that game. So if it's like you have to run and punch and jump and you're actually doing this, if you get an achievement to say that, hey, I actually did go through that, then I think more people would attempt to actually do it because that's what the whole achievement system is.
You guys remember those little pocket Pikachu things?
Yeah.
No. It was like put that on a dryer or something, just let it vibrate instead of actually walking around. Everyone did that. It's kind of the same thing.
Exactly. Like when I got my 3DS, I was like, I can get points for walking. I'm like, this is amazing. I walk all day. How many? Oh, 10. Okay. And then you know, that's how I unlock.
It's like being on the floor and hitting the NES power.
Right.
It's like, I can beat this game.
Alright, so
That's my laptop.
I want to open up.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I want to open up the floor for questions. I know you guys had your hand up earlier, so if you got a question or a topic of discussion throughout there, we'll definitely.
I think Jesus has been.
I actually had a couple things over the course of it. Well, one's regarding the PS4, and I think that with the share system, if rather than just a direct upload to YouTube, they allow straight software capture, then that could really help because then that provides, if you can press the button, start recording, play the animation, stop it,
Yeah.
you can extract it and shove it into your computer, and then upload, I think that like do Let's Plays on it will garner a much larger
So
audience.
there's something behind the scenes happening with that. And I think the publishers don't want the audience to be able to record their gameplay unlimited and then make money off of it on YouTube. So we already seen Nintendo kind of poked us a couple of months ago and said, hey, watch what you're doing
Yeah,
here.
and on that note, I can't believe Nintendo was that silly because Animal Crossing New Leaf, the ability to take photos in-game is probably one of the major reasons that thing has sold so much. I know that's why I
Yeah. See, it's kind of, they say like share and all of this stuff. They want the future to be social, but I don't know if they're even looking at the other side of things that people can make money off of that. So on Xbox, you'll be able to say, I want to do a live stream. That's going to be recorded onto Twitch unless they take that feature out of there, and then a lot of people are going to be pissed, especially commentators on YouTube. And then I also feel like the commentators that do the hard work now, who have to render the footage out, record, upload, and have huge audiences, that's going to hurt them, I think, because all of a sudden there's going to be 5 billion 5-second clips of Call of Duty Ghosts online, all trying to make money, and it's just, I don't think anything's going to come through at that point, and it's really, YouTube is about to become,
It's gonna be saturated.
it's going to be a disaster if that's allowed, I think, because who wants to watch a 5-second clip of like a kill on Call of Duty? I don't give a shit. You know what I mean?
Depends on the kill.
But to your point, there'll be 1 out of 10,000.
Yeah,
That
but
becomes a meme.
Or to your friends.
yeah,
Or to your friends, exactly.
See,
You
but
know,
that's
it becomes the next Leroy Jenkins.
see,
and
but that's the thing.
that.
I think that's the thing where I don't know if they've thought ahead and thought this is important between the friends, and that's what they haven't really talked about. Is it you upload to your Facebook and that's cool, but they haven't really talked about exactly how that works or how. I know you can record 15 minutes at a time, and that's about it. So people who had hopes that you could just record the whole game, upload it, and do this gameplay commentary to make money, that's not going to be the reality.
Am I the only one that's really worried that like the share and the video option is going to get really, really annoying?
Yeah.
From all like everyone on your friends list.
Well, I
Look
just-
at 1,000 things I uploaded in shares. Dude, I don't care.
See, I think, yeah.
You 360
Well,
no
you have
scope.
tons of
So
people
is
on
1,000
all
million.
your social medias do that. People who post on Twitter, I just had a peanut butter sandwich, and now I can go to the bathroom, and now I can scratch my arm.
I know, and now it's in my gaming system, and that
Yeah,
sucks.
that's all.
You can't just get pissed.
Am I the only one that wants an off button for all that crap?
No, you can actually, I heard you can shut it all off. You just go, gone.
So I can still
Like any good feature, there's an on-off button.
Yeah.
Right, so
So you
actually
said-
goes into like the whole talking versus buttons. I don't know if we'll ever actually completely get rid of buttons because you don't get much faster than a button in the electrical pulse.
Sure. So especially the people that play a lot of the arcade fighters, right? I mean, these are people that are very serious about the milliseconds.
Well, it actually doesn't
latency.
matter. It's saying shoot for a first-person shooter, just not gonna happen.
No, I was talking more in the lines like, I think the future,
Fire.
not the future of gaming, but in general, the future of technology. would be like, you turn on your lights, your television, the oven, like, you can just walk in and be like, turn on the lights, turn on the dryer, turn on the washing machine, and set the oven to 400 degrees in half an hour, and I'll be back. And it'll do that for you.
Games though. Because then you won't walk your room and try to position yourself to shoot out the lights. You'll just say it and then start attacking.
But that's probably fundamentally a genre conversation, right?
Imagine-
Because there are some that I think work fairly well with that kind of a framework, and then there are just plenty that do not. And most of the ones that do not are the ones that are the most popular right now. So we're talking about the future of gaming here.
Let's get some more questions in here. Okay, here's
Okay, so for the Oculus VR, I'm thinking you could use it for something like a sense of speed in a motorcycle game. Like think of like Road Rash, you know that old game?
yeah.
You could actually have that sense of speed or manually modified Flight Simulator X for that. So you can actually go around and whatnot and kind of do like almost like flight training with a cheaply. So what about those kind of happening so on?
Yeah, those are cool. One of the like best Oculus Rift games out there right now is a roller coaster game. Like you just go on a roller coaster and there are videos out there of people playing it, and the entire time they're just.
Scared that you're on a roller coaster.
Not really that sense of speed, but again, for like just terms of applications and how it can apply to gaming in general, that's a very, very small amount of game that the Oculus Rift could work for. But
Yeah, but I mean, if you get a niche audience and whatnot, that might work. Like
yeah, but for
smooth
something
things,
for speed, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Microsoft will just say, put a work pod on a track, put Master Chief next to you.
Yeah. The Oculus Rift, all it does, like you play any game, but Master Chief just sits next to you. Silently.
Well, unless you yell at him, Master Chief, fire!
Yeah. Shoot those guys.
Shoot those guys! Come on!
It's
It's,
got a glue his hand up forever.
Well, I had a comment that was very similar to that. Actually, I have two things I want to, so I'll start with the first one, and I'll let me have the second. Actually, I've never used Oculus Rift. I've used a 3D headset back in the 90s, playing through 3D, and it was pretty fucking set. I don't think it would be very good for an FPS game. And I don't think it will, even if you got the walking tread thing. But there is a set of games that I think it would be perfect for, the people who are making these games say the same thing. Any game where you're in the role of somebody sitting in a chair at a console, which would particularly be jet fighters, space fighters, tanks, mechs, all that sort of thing.
Make X-Wing for Oculus Rift.
Because especially when you're in a jet and you're in a game, you can't look around and see the people around you. You've got a radar, but it's really hard to read. And it's the same thing when you're in a mech. And they've got these great games where you can have a huge console in your room, and for these people who are into these games, they pay ridiculous amounts of money for the huge battle stations. But this could bring it home for the rest of the people who don't have the money to have this huge ass thing.
There was an arcade game, a Mech Warrior arcade game, where you got in the cockpit, and is that what you're talking about? Kind of like that?
Yeah, but that's more like, that's this huge thing. I mean, nobody can afford that in their house, but everybody can afford an Oculus Rift.
Like Steel Battalion.
There's a huge problem though with Steel Battalion on the Oculus Rift. I love the idea, but the problem with the Oculus Rift is if I have 20 buttons and I have to move my hands around, and my hands get to the wrong place, and I have to lift it up.
That's one of the big problems. I'm like, if you could see through it, it's like, augmented reality, you can see your hand. That's another thing. The other thing, if you have a simple controller like, a gamepad or a joystick, where you're doing like a jet fighter.
Right.
And that'd be much better.
Or even something like that would need a combination of an Oculus Rift and a Kinect so that you can see everything and the Kinect is watching your hands where you're pressing the buttons.
And that's kind of the convergence I'm talking about.
That would be
Why
cool
can't
too,
those
if you
things
could
happen
see your
together?
hands
You
in
make
the
that happen?
game world.
Well, there's something that I'll just say quickly. I think that the true future of everything is not having an actual piece of glass or a screen in front of us. I think it's actually a camera and a projector, and you can project your screen onto anything. So the camera says, hey, there's James, and it just projects onto a surface near me, like in his Facebook profile section, info about him, or I can be like, let's play Pong, and it'll project a ball on the floor, and we just kick it back and forth as we go.
Or they could just put a giant input in the back of your head and plug you into the Matrix.
Could I possibly ask the other question, the other thing that I wanted to bring up?
Sure.
All right, great. Well, we're all nerds here. Have you guys seen Sword Art Online?
Yes.
All right, and they've seen Denim Coral.
That one,
You guys need to see Denim Coral. It is one of the best anime I've ever seen. It's all about augmented reality. It's basically a bunch of kids who, they all wear glasses, and they can interact with this whole magical world that nobody else can see.
This one girl is the main character?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, what it is, it's a headpiece that was originally used for medical uses, and they managed to make games out of it, so it actually hijacks all neural input, and you're in a virtual world with that.
So it is the Matrix.
Yeah, it is essentially the Matrix, but I think there's no in-between where they're doing that, or...
It starts out as just, augmented reality class. That's kind of a spoiler.
Let's get a hand in the way back with the two colored bracelets on.
Yeah, right here. I actually played the Oculus Rift with the Oculus Rift on Tuesday. My friend got the dev kit, and one of the first games he put on for me, demanded that I try, was Minecraft. And at first I was like, oh, okay, well that sounds cool. He put me into there's like a huge group of people that are remaking Westeros from Game of Thrones, and he threw me in King's Landing. That was just the most amazing thing I've ever seen, because you feel the depth of everything that's around you, and the only thing that ruined it for me was the fact that I had a mouse and keyboard. Because again, I actually had to take my visor off and figure out where the hell the buttons were, because I typically don't play PC games. But when you guys mentioned Ready Player One, that's the first thing that hit my mind was when I entered King's Landing. Because if you can recreate...
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it gets to that point, and not necessarily like a T-Rex come in and kill you, but I was thinking like Minecraft or something.
So the only other thing I'm thinking about there is that seems to me to be almost like a glorified tech demo, right? So
Yeah.
you just, it's like a virtual tour. So maybe I put this, maybe the future of the Oculus Rift is like a giant Zen garden stress relief thing where you come home, you pop the headset on, and you go to an island on Fiji and start.
Second Life.
You know,
Or even a movie. In
Second Life, yeah, oh god.
Well, I mean, that would sell a lot.
It would sell a lot because that, but again.
Or porn. Let's be real.
Hooray!
But again, what good is porn without that feedback? Where's my hands? Ah, dang it.
That's a different philosophical question.
Future game.
It's all coming together.
All right, let's get another question. The green jacket.
Oh, hey,
But I can't.
big system. To continue on the virtual reality talk, that Zen Garden idea, I thought it was really cool. And one of my favorite things to do, one of my favorite parts of any like first-person game, is after you've gone through a heavy campaign and you're shooting a lot, and you're going through all these wars and stuff, when like they sit you down in a car and you just look around and just like feel the environment, feel the aesthetics of what's going on. And I think that the Oculus Rift would be great for something like that. I'm not sure if directors would be into the virtual reality like kind of platform, but if they make movies where you can just be first person inside of like a character, because a lot of people already relate to main characters in movies. So sitting inside of a person, or you want the main character, let's say Mass Effect. If you play first person Shepard, not the shooting parts, but just him walking around in the spaceship, talking to people, I think that would be a really cool idea for virtual reality.
Yeah, I think like Spielberg and Lucas just recently dissed gaming, yet Spielberg shows up at the press conference.
Yeah.
Says, "Hey, I'm making a Halo game," and then like a month later, he's like, "Gaming is not good."
I actually saw him checking out the Xbox One at E3 this year.
Yeah, so you know, in terms of like Hollywood getting involved, I think that the gaming industry could learn a lot from how to market certain things, because I think the gaming industry is horrible at marketing their own games. I mean, a game will hit like Halo or Minecraft, and then the industry will just follow and be like, "You can do this thing, it's like Minecraft." They don't want to be themselves, so.
That happens in every medium, to be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, but I think in gaming it's probably the worst for me. I see a
Seen
lot
any
of
movies
so.
this summer? Pretty much every single.
I get the example is like E3. Microsoft just bombed hardcore. I just don't know how a company with that much resources just doesn't get it and doesn't even like all they need to do is come in a room with us, all of us, and talk to us for a few hours, and they would get more data out of that than anywhere else. And they don't even do that. So, or if they did, they must have been talking to some weird people.
My only sub question to what or something important to consider is if we turn the Oculus Rift into the giant Zen garden, and if it becomes tour the world or any world, then what is the game? And that is something that I think. So I mean, you turn Minecraft into your own immersion game, which is fun. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's probably something we should be thinking about. How do we turn that into a game, and how do we make that game?
Yeah. Oh god, yes.
All right,
Hypercard.
this gentleman over here.
And actually, we really should do lightning round at this point because
Yeah.
we're probably
We got a few minutes
Yeah.
left, so.
Okay.
Great.
I want to know your thoughts on Let's Play, because I just want to know where it's going in the industry, because I can't stop watching them.
I'm gonna get crap for this one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess I kind of do that a little bit on my own personal channel. We kind of discussed it a little bit with the upcoming PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. It is going to get so saturated come this holiday season. And it's definitely going to be that way for a few months. A lot of people try to, like, oh, I can suddenly do Let's Plays, and they're going to try to do that. But so many people are going to try to do that, that I feel like 99.9% of them are going to immediately give it up, because there's nothing that they're doing that someone else isn't doing, or they can't stand out and do it as well. So it's going to be in a weird flux coming up with the Xbox One, PlayStation 4 specifically.
So we got 5 minutes, so let's do.
Jump in front.
I'm traditionally a PC gamer, and a lot of people, when I talk to them in the past, since games and things, they find the PC really complicated to get into.
Yeah.
I find it really odd with this console generation. They've essentially become PCs, but they've even locked it down further. I can pay for online, I've got this crazy camera, if I'm playing for Wii U, I can't get my Japanese indie games for some reason, because Nintendo doesn't want to hire them. Do you see players almost going, okay, my console now has become so complicated, I don't want to do that, I'm now going to go to the PC? costly for initial
I don't think so,
costs.
because knowing how to make a good PC and updating it and taking care of it is something that someone who just buys a console, I don't think they usually have that technical information. Anyone who's a PC person, your computer is complex, it has so many parts to it that myself, who I do play PC, but just casually, and I just buy consoles, I wouldn't know how to, like, what chips to pick, what anything to pick.
And I would say kind of the opposite of things, because it is so uniquely packaged. I think that's what you're saying, right? It's so easy, it's digestible, it's fast, right? But think of every platform besides maybe Chromecast and AirPlay that you can plug into your TV right now. Essentially, they're just small PCs that have very singular functions, right? But this is the first console generation that's completely x86 based. You're basically just buying the exact same architecture you would purchase through a PC. That's an interesting fact that we don't have enough time to cover adequately, but we probably should have. But it opens the door for so many different companies.
And I think with the Steam box, we might be doing the last.
Yes.
Yes,
Just one quick thing. The console that everyone in this room is carrying right now. Smartphones. What do you guys think for the future of smartphone
Jesus,
games?
I feel stupid that we didn't even talk about that.
I think they're fun.
There's a lot of really good smartphone games, and they kind of get overshadowed by all the people who think smartphone games are just like really stupid, casual, bejeweled, or Angry Birds. Not that Angry Birds isn't a bad game, but a lot of people had a stigma against them for that. But there's a lot of really good phone games. Like,
You gotta dig through a lot of crap, but there are some.
I think the stigma is probably from gamers too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not
I think
real
the general
comfortable.
public like looks at Angry Birds and goes, "Oh my God, it's crap!" Right? I mean, it's the greatest thing ever. They're not looking at it the way we do with the original.
The future of smartphone games is getting the audience to be willing to pay $10 for a smartphone game. Once we hit that point, you'll get a very solid lineup. I mean, once you get to that point, you may not need another handheld console.
Like the new Deus Ex game that everyone flipped out on, it's actually really, really, really good. It's probably one of the best I've played on the phone. And I'm not even a huge fan of it really, but it really is really well done. Like they really designed it knowing that you're touching a screen, not just, you know, playing a game on it.
Unfortunately, we can't sell that game for any text.
Exactly.
So we're pretty much out of time, so I want to thank you guys all for coming to the Future Video Game panel.